Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me today, the man behind the Slow Facts blog and co-host with me on the Polite Society podcast, which will happen tomorrow night. It was supposed to happen last night, but I'm just getting home from the U.S. Virgin Islands. So, if you were looking for that last night, look for it tomorrow night. Rob, thanks for coming along for the ride, man.
My pleasure, Paul. Thank you for inviting me.
So let's go ahead and get started with. As we do get started, I want to remind everybody: get your comments in. We'd love to get them on the air, discuss them, and if you do want to comment, all you need to do is to use the hashtag #TheBullet on Twitter, or you can comment if you're watching on the live stream for Polite Society Podcast on either Facebook or YouTube. You can comment there. If you comment in a group on Facebook, I may or may not get it. If I do, I won't get your name, but we'll still put it on the air and discuss it. Let's get started, Rob. First thing I want to talk about is a Second Amendment Foundation press release that came through. I'm just going to go ahead and read most of it here. A defendant in the Second Amendment Foundation's challenge of New York's gun control law has filed a brief with the Federal Appeals Court supporting the plaintiff's application for a preliminary injunction, a move which SAF's Alan Gottlieb welcomed as a pleasant surprise. The case is known as Hardaway Jr. versus Negrelli. Gottlieb said the brief filed by Niagara County, New York District Attorney Brian Seaman reinforces the plaintiff's assertion that the gun control law, which prohibits concealed carry in a broadly defined sensitive places, including places of worship, is unconstitutional. Seaman's brief states he supports the application for a preliminary injunction for the purpose of furthering a judicial determination as to the constitution of New York penal law, adding, therefore, the court should affirm the decision and order of the district court granting the plaintiff's appellee's application for a preliminary injunction. Federal District Judge John Sinatra granted the preliminary injunction, and the state appealed to the U.S. Second Circuit Court of Appeals. SAF Executive Director Adam Kraut said, "Well, this is certainly an unusual development. We welcome the concurrence of the District Attorney Seaman in our effort to secure a preliminary injunction. We believe New York gun control scheme is wholly unconstitutional. The New York legislature apparently believes it is above the law, and we are confident the courts will rein in this blatant attempt to circumvent the Supreme Court directives in the Bruin ruling." Rob, this is highly unusual. This never, ever, ever happens, that somebody on the side that we're suing says, yeah, let's go ahead and grant that injunction. What's your take on this, bud?
Here's what I wonder, Paul. Where is that injunction enforced? In the county, or is it enforced in the entire Second Circuit or across the entire state? Details matter. I'm not a lawyer. I don't even play one on TV. And what I wonder, if this is the local prosecutor's attempt to lose small. You've seen this played out before.
Yeah, we have. What I'm thinking is, and I am not an attorney. I don't play one on TV. I only know what I know through my research and my job. I suspect strongly this applies to all of New York because this was a federal court ruling.
Right.
And what I'm thinking is this is a way to, and the stories and the press release said that they immediately filed an appeal with the Second Circuit. This is a way for New York to get let's get this done. Let's move this forward as quickly as we can. If we get this injunction, we can immediately appeal it, and get it to the Second Circuit where we hope we get a favorable ruling. I sincerely doubt they're going to get a favorable ruling out of the Second Circuit, but it's possible.
The other strategy here could be, if these rulings are delayed, the U.S. Supreme Court has told the Second, you don't have long to resolve this issue before we step in. If you'll recall, going back to other civil rights cases like school integration, there were a number of states who had their education departments taken over by the courts. Hi, we are your new master, and we will organize things because you won't.
Right.
I could imagine a judge appointing a master over New York State's issuance of licenses, and they'll say, you know what, you're having trouble? Here, I'm your new boss. Bring the problems to me. I'll sort them out for you real fast. This may be a way for New York to say, well, see, we had an injunction. This is all on hold, so no matter what happens next and how it's drawn out, we've responded promptly in the courts. Therefore, the U.S. Supreme Court can stand down. There are huge problems for the Concealed Carry Improvement Act when it comes to gun shops. And those are still in the courts. They're not moving along at the same pace. Our friend and associate, what's her name? Paloma Capana.
Yes.
Is really upset because some of those stores are in a bind. They can't be in business given that law.
You're absolutely right. And I imagine she is an extremely busy woman right now.
Yeah, I owe her some money. She's doing such a good job.
All right, there's another side, and we got a comment that covers it. Jack Mead on the Facebook side says someone in New York State actually read the writing on the wall. Do you think that's a possibility, Rob, that they're trying that this particular DA is saying, because this is not the state DA, this is a county DA. Do you think that this county DA broke rank and said,
well, okay,
let's get this done?
Jack, give us a second comment and help us understand what you're saying. I agree. I think we're right. This could be a DA. He could be a Republican. I don't know the political makeup. He could be a pro-gun advocate. He could be an honest broker saying, yes, I think this is what the law says. If he's a part of the anti-gun apparatus in New York State and has any political aspirations, why would they concede gracefully, Jack? That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, if they were, the way to do it is just to not to say, let's approve this. The way to do it would be to totally switch sides and say we agree with SAF on this, not to say that we agree for the injunction, that we agree that the SAF should win the suit.
He said they thought it was unconstitutional. We'll lose. Go ahead and put the injunction. I don't know the politics in Niagara County. What's clear is District Attorney Brian Seaman probably won't be getting any Bloomberg bucks in the next election.
Oh yeah, that's certain. I'm looking up just a second here.
Do you want me to jump into the next topic and we'll back up?
Give me just a second. All right, I'm looking up where exactly Niagara County is. It's Niagara Falls. Is where it is.
Right up there on the New York. The Canadian border.
It is. It's even north of Buffalo. So,
which is right.
Yeah, you're right there.
Well, let's ask our listeners if we've got some listeners who know the local politics in Niagara County. What's it like? Do you have any insights into why this DA acted that way? It'd be great to know.
Well, I would suspect it is conservative because it's very rural. Niagara Falls is the largest town, and it stops just north. It catches some of the northern suburbs of Buffalo. But let me
Okay.
get this comment in here real quick. Um, Paul, did you hear about the case in New York, of all places, challenging suppressor laws? If successful, this would without a doubt help all 50 states. That's just beautiful, isn't it? That one has not come on my radar yet. I do know there are various lawsuits. I do not know if SAF is involved in them yet, but I know there are various lawsuits challenging all parts of all gun control laws. It would not. The suppressors are part of the 1934 Gun Control Act, and it wouldn't surprise me if there are lawsuits against that already.
So, Mr. Mag, here's what I've learned. I used to cheer every challenge to a gun law. Then I learned if you put up a bad challenge that's not well thought out, well funded, and well worded, competently crafted, your loss becomes part of court cases. Your loss is now precedent. So a bad argument on our side hurts us.
Yep.
If I were going to go argue the suppressor laws, I would start in Texas and make incremental inroads. Once we've hollowed out the center of the country, we know the Second Circuit is going to be a tough sell. Why start there? Be interesting. Unless the thought is, oh, the Second Circuit has already earned the attention of the U.S. Supreme Court. I don't know. That level of detail is above my pay grade.
Jack commented that Niagara, speaking of Niagara County, it's upstate, which is typically more
Right.
gun friendly, much more so, he says.
Right. If it were, plowed ground up on the border, I'd say makes perfect sense. I don't know how much of the suburbs are in there and the political makeup of those suburbs. Thanks, Jack.
Got a one from the Facebook listener. I'm assuming watching in a Facebook group. Was just listening to Rob on Gun Talk podcast this morning. Pleasant surprise to hear you, Rob. It's not your first appearance there. You've appeared several times on Tom Gresham's show. You're becoming
Yes.
somewhat of a semi-regular there, man.
Once every couple of months. It's always great to talk with Tom. He's such a great host. He tees you up to do great.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and talk about a Quinnipiac poll, bud. You want to take that one?
I will. As Paul mentioned, this is a poll out of Quinnipiac University. I believe that's in Connecticut. And it's again throwing cold water on gun control. Gun control advocates had a push to ban commonly owned firearms. And in this case, the magic words are the modern sporting rifle, the so-called assault rifle or assault weapon. Look, those are a bunch of bad labels for modern firearms. According to Quinnipiac, 48% of us oppose the ban. The poll noted a continuing trend, an increasing number of us vote against the ban. In July of last year, it was 45% who were opposing the ban. So it's a 3 percentage point swing in about 7 months. Realize in those 7 months, we've had an extraordinary number of mass murders in New York State, in California, one in Michigan, one in Texas, and yet the percentage that thinks banning the rifle is the solution continues to fall. Firearm industry data showed that over the past several years, while law-abiding Americans are purchasing firearms at a record pace, the modern sporting rifle was a popular choice, including among first-time gun users. Since 1990, there have been more than 24 million modern sporting rifles in circulation. That includes 4.5 million in the last 3 years alone. Paul, what do you think? What do our listeners think?
Well, I think I have added to the 24.4 million modern sporting rifles in circulation today And I've also added to the 4.5 million in the last 3 years. Rob, where I think this is coming from is gun owners seeing the writing on the wall, so to speak, in that, look, I own a gun. If I ever want to own a modern sporting rifle, an AR, an AK, or whatever, I do not want them to be illegal because in the future I may want to buy one. I could see the use of one. I think more and more gun owners are coming to the realization that this is not a joke. This is serious, and they could actually do it.
That may well be true. There are a bunch of other things that may be going on there, and our mutual friend Kathy Jackson, with whom you just spent part of last week,
Yep, I visited with her a couple times. Yep,
may have seen her once or twice. When I first met her, we were talking about the AR, and she said, "Rob, it's a girl gun.
It is.
You give somebody, and that was not a pejorative. You give somebody a 10/22. That's a great place to start. Now, are you going to hand them your 9mm handgun or your AR? Because after the 10/22, that's the next step up. It's adjustable in size. It's got very low recoil. It barks. You got to put it on ears. What's interesting is there are some loads where the bullets will tumble and break up when they hit sheetrock. That's not true of your 9mm pistol. Your 9mm pistol is going to go through, what, 8 layers of drywall, maybe more? Whereas the 10/22 may stop short. And she goes, so is it a reasonable apartment gun? That was an eye-opener for me. Yes, it'll reach out to 200 yards. If your eyes will do that, good for you. I'd like a little magnification. If we're going to hunt there, let's at least get a 2 or 3x. But again, a lot of new gun owners may say, this adjustable gun fits my whole family.
That's very, very true. I want to get this comment up first real quick, and then I got something to add on to what you just said. I think that number is actually over 50%, Jack Neat says. There is another poll just this month which talked about on some other programs that had the support at 51 against. Can't quite recall the poll. What's unique about Quinnipiac is they are tracking it. They track it over time. They ask the exact same question over time. They don't alter the wording in the question at all.
So does Prue. And you're right, they track it over time. Jack, I'd have to, if I were to make a bet, that's probably the Pew Research poll.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say, I have one of my ARs. I went to my brother-in-law's place, and I had just a red dot on it. It was all
Right.
the optics I had, just no magnification red dot, and I was regularly scoring hits at 400 yards. So it's not a 200-yard gun. It's easily, reliably at 400 yards. I was using 5.56 green dot at the time.
Sure.
So yeah, you can.
I'd like to, someday we'll talk about the reticle, because I'd like to hear what reticle you use on yours.
Yeah, it was. I believe it was a 1 minute of 1 minute of angle was my dot. But anyway, yeah. Let me get this one from 500 Magnum up. This is actually a really good one. You hear anti-gunners go on and on about 5.56 NATO. Dear God, nobody tell them about 50 BMG. Or, what is it, 336 Lapua?
Oh, yeah. Or 375. Yeah, on and on and on.
7mm Magnum. Yeah, there's a lot of good rounds for reaching out and for large game. There's a lot of really good rounds out there. I want to talk. The next story we got here, moving on a little bit, is there is a bill in Washington State, House Bill 1240, aims to prohibit the sale, manufacture, and distribution of semi-automatic rifles categorized as assault weapons. this is all semi-automatic rifles. This includes your Ruger 1022. This
Right.
this includes everything. If it's a semi-automatic rifle, goodbye. That's what they want to do. And from what I've seen, no grandfathering, no nothing like that. If you've got it, you've got to get rid of it.
Well, this says sale, distribution, and manufacture. It doesn't say possession, so I have to dig. Um, here's an obvious question that I have: Are police exempt? And why do the police need an assault weapon when they're the second responders? What about my wife and I, who are the real first responders? Why do the, do why does someone who's not wearing a vest, who's a long way from backup? I mean, he's got a radio. He can call in lots of help. Why should I be underarmed compared to him?
Well, and to yeah, of course, the criminals are not going to follow any laws. They're criminals because they're criminals. They're already breaking laws. Murder is illegal. Breaking and entering is illegal. Theft is illegal. Why are they going to worry about a gun law? So they're gonna
But,
take what they want.
and you know what's interesting? Now, I'm headline surfing here, and I'd have to read the bill, the fine print in the bill. Did they exclude semi-auto shotguns? Because they said rifles.
They did, and I
Holy
perused
cow!
this story. I don't see. I would have to delay the show even more and
And
actually,
no, it's right, right.
yeah,
But I'm
bring up.
going. So you're not afraid of the M4, but you're afraid of the 1022. You, Bill, Paul. There was a fascinating bill, and I don't know that we got to talk about it. It was in Illinois, and it said if you are going to write a bill that has the word firearms in it, you have to go take training so that you have at least the certifications up to and including a range safety officer. Because that way you have some credible expertise. Somebody who wrote this bill clearly doesn't know one end of a rifle from the other.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, let's get this one in. Larry on the Facebook side, Larry Benson says, uh, if they need them to meet force with force, then why would we not to meet the same force?
Right. Yeah. If we're facing the same problem, why can't we be equally tooled up?
Well,
On to Chicago.
one more point here, real quick,
Okay.
and I think what we're missing when we are fighting these laws is all enemies, foreign and domestic. Um, if we are invaded, and the odds of that are not zero. I don't expect Canada to be coming across the border in the near future. There's an argument that can be made that we are being invaded from the south actively right now.
Yes.
I need the same or better weapons than are available to the U.S. military to be able to repel that.
Um. Okay. But here, let's not make the same mistake that our critics make. The ARs that you have are not the same as a full auto M4 that has the fun switch on the side.
You're right.
These days, the military rifles are routinely issued suppressed and scoped with either burst mode or full auto.
Yes.
We don't see that in civilian hands, nor is that, by the way, what we're asking for. We're asking for guns that are. When did the Ruger Ranch rifle come out? Isn't that about a 1950s invention? Was it early 1960s? Okay, one of our listeners will get me squared away there. But what? That's only 80. Okay, 1960s was 60 years ago. My gosh, how can we get over it yet?
Let's make a little bit of fun of Carrie Lightfoot. You want to take this one?
Oh, I want to? Do you mean Lori Lightfoot?
Yes, not Carrie, Lori Lightfoot.
It's
Yes.
okay. Who's Carrie? We'll talk about after that. You wouldn't know it by watching the news or listening to the gun haters, but on crime. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot's got a plan. At least that's what the commercials are touting, who are pitching Lori Lightfoot's campaign for re-election. She's running for the second term in a tight mayoral race. The vote is in a few days. What, on the 28th? What is that? Is that tomorrow? Day after?
Today.
With a potential April 4th runoff. Yes, I'm tough on crime. If you can sell that, you can sell ice to Eskimos. My goodness.
Yeah, if you're going to buy that she's tough on crime, I've got a bridge in Arizona that I want to sell you, man. The bridge goes right over California. It's because when California gets that big earthquake, falls into the sea, you want to be able to stretch across that. It goes all the way to Hawaii, man. I got a bridge.
I have a
It's
bridge
for
to sell
sale.
you. Exactly.
I think honestly, Mayor Lightfoot's plan is just to let everybody out of prison and get them to promise extra special they're going to be good people.
Right. Because, otherwise it's what did she call it? Prison, what? No. Prison pipeline. Yeah, you know what? On the other hand, what infuriates me, we have had people, some of whom are generally concerned, who go, we're having a war in our city. We have thousands of people murdered by the drug gangs a year, and you're letting them back out. Actually, it's the DA that you voted for. So, yes, you want to get a better police chief, and to do that, you have to replace the mayor and the city council. But why did you vote for that Soros DA? Fix that.
Absolutely. Jack on Facebook says if she wins based on that claim, then Chicago is lost and anywhere else like it is lost for good too. I don't have, and there haven't really, because polls obviously wouldn't have been released yet. They're still open in Chicago. I don't have any returns, but I would be surprised if I came back tomorrow and it's still going to be Mayor Lightfoot. Of course, we do have possibly a runoff on April 4th. So, one more story I want to get to. We got 3 minutes left. When we started coming about, this news started coming about that the credit card companies wanted to track purchases at gun stores. Everybody said, "Well, this is American Express, Visa, and MasterCard. Discover's not in on this." Well, if the story is what's in your wallet. If it's a Discover card, be advised it will soon be used to monitor your gun-related purchases and potentially report them to the government. Earlier this month, Discover was the first major credit card issuer to announce that it will implement a new merchant category code, MCC, created to track purchases at gun stores with the express purposes of monitoring and reporting to authorities any activity the company considers suspicious. Discover told news outlets Reuters it would begin its surveillances of gun shop purchases in April. So if you went out and got a Discover card because you didn't want credit card transactions to be purchased at a gun store, guess what? You were wrong in your assumption they weren't going to do it.
I use a credit card that's from my local bank, and down here in Louisiana, we don't pay that game. Also, Florida put a $10,000 per incident penalty on tracking firearms by banks. So it'll be fascinating to see what the bank chooses to do.
$10,000 per instance. That's not chump change, bud.
That'll get their attention really quick.
Yeah, and there's a lot of gun stores in Florida. So anyway, let's do the
So let's. Imagine you're a bank. What are you going to do? Are you going to have separate tracking reporting systems Or are you going to go with the one that is the only thing you can do that's universal is to drop the tracking requirement. Florida's saying, make your choice, guys. Just pay up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're out of time, man. We're at 30 minutes. On the way out, though, before I shut this down, man, tell us about Self Defense Gun Stories and anything else you want to plug.
I host the Self Defense Gun Stories podcast. I and 6 other firearms instructors. I'm a co-host on Paul's and the Second Amendment Foundation's Polite Society podcast. My blog is at slowfacts.wordpress.com. I think 6 new articles in the last 2 weeks. My writing is often picked up and carried at AmmoLand Shooting Sports News.
All right, man. And I'm thinking you and I could almost start an underwater podcast because I discovered your world for the first time last week, and I'm absolutely in love. But for today, for the bullet, that's going to wrap it up. Please do come join us tomorrow and the rest of the week, 5 p.m. Central Time, noon Central on Saturday for the weekend show. And the weekend show this week is actually going to be a really good one. It's Brooke Cheney, Alex Uli, and Dan Waz this weekend for the weekend review. That's going to do it for me today. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks for commenting. Podcast listeners, thank you for listening. And we will see you next